All right, so we have self-directed IRAs, individual retirement accounts, and self-directed 401ks. What are some of the differences? What's the difference between the two?
Man, once again, a lot of differences, but let's talk about the biggest bang for the buck, especially for real estate investors. With an IRA, if you borrow money and you make a profit on that borrowed money in real estate inside your IRA, you got to pay taxes. Even your IRA is going to have to pay taxes if it's making a profit on leveraged real estate.
Borrowed money. Leveraged means borrowed money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Borrowed money. So if you're doing leveraged real estate, you had to borrow, your IRA had to borrow to buy that real estate, and it makes a profit. IRS says your IRA, even a Roth IRA, has to pay taxes on the profits. But now our good buddy, the Freedom First 401k, if we do that exact same deal inside the Freedom First 401k, 90% of the time, heck, 99% of the time, you're not going to have to pay taxes on the leveraged real estate, the profits on the leveraged real estate. So right there, the Freedom First 401k can save you a ton of taxes on leveraged real estate deals.
Okay, not everybody knows this about the UBIT tax. You're talking about a UBIT tax.
Yeah,
right?
the fancy phrase is UBIT.
UBIT.
Yeah.
Okay, not everyone knows this. Don't be surprised if your CPAs are not up to speed on it. Again, it takes a person that's niched down, read all the fine print, read everything. So if someone's shooting you down and you hear the word UBIT, let's make sure we get a call here and run past the reason why you're making decisions. Make sure that these decisions are right. Give Tim a call. A lot of people think it's illegal to borrow money in your 401, in your IRA.
Hey, that's a mind blower too. A lot of people have said, "Oh, you can't borrow money." That's a bunch of garbage. There's a bunch of lenders who specialize in making loans to retirement plans. So there's all sorts of opportunities to get leverage on your real estate, to borrow that money. And there's other private individuals willing to loan the money too. So you can borrow as much as you want to inside your retirement plan. Let's put it that way.
Right. There's, of course, there's some stipulations, but we're going to get to that. But this, again, is like all these myths. That you don't just walk around town and get a little bit from here or there. You have to go to an expert, people, and someone who really knows about this. Again, feel free to call Tim if you're up into these complicated questions or what you think is complicated. Tell us more about the differences between IRAs and 401k.
Here's a super big one. We talked about the custodians before. With a 401k, you don't need a custodian. You just need a trustee, and you are your own trustee. So now whenever you want to go out and make an investment, you don't have to fill out a bunch of paperwork and ask the custodian to use your money the way you want to. You go out and do it. Since you don't have to fill out the paperwork, typically custodians would charge money to review the investment. You don't have to charge money. So you don't need a custodian. And speed, we talked about speed before. You can move just like that. Since you're the trustee of the 401k, you got the checkbook, you write the check, you make the investment.
Yeah,
How many seconds was that?
Let me tell you this. And this has happened to me, and it's happened to my partner, it's happened to a lot of my friends. You only have to lose one transaction that could have netted you $20, $30, $40, $50,000 because you were waiting on the custodian, or they were out of town that week, or it was the holidays, and you lose a deal because your custodian can't act fast enough, and then you'll be right over here at our knocking on the office door over here, because this is how I got into this whole conversation with Tim a long time ago. Was it happened to me, and I said it's never going to happen to me again. How do I stop this? And lo and behold, there was a way to stop it, and it's checkbook control.
Yep, checkbook control 401k, no custodian. I just can't overpraise how powerful that is.
With the self-directed 401k, there's no custodian. You have checkbook control. You're the trustee. You're in charge of the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. That's mega, mega, mega important. Okay. Especially if you're a guy that's dealing in real-time life transactions in real time. There's not a lot of time to waste on the outstanding deals. You got to move. Yeah. Another big benefit, asset protection. You're going to have stronger asset protection with the 401k than you do with a self-directed IRA. IRAs, you have some asset protection. You got some pretty strong asset protection. But 401ks, head and shoulders above that. So that's another neat benefit. I've also heard, and tell me if this is true, sure, it could be a myth, going off the top of my head here, that solo 401ks or the 401ks are much more forgiving if you make a mistake than the IRAs. Oh, fantastic point. Absolutely. There's something called the dreaded prohibited transaction rules. And if you do something wrong, a prohibited transaction with an IRA, it's completely and fully distributed. If you do something wrong with a 401k, give you a little fine or something?
I literally had a client, they got a notice from the IRS they owed $4 because they did something wrong with their self-directed 401k. $4. The same thing, if they would have done that inside their IRA, would have been a $300,000 tax bill. So much more forgiving vehicles, much more forgiving.
Okay. So I don't want to freak you out, because the whole thing is when you get a Freedom First expert on your team, you're not going to do prohibited transactions if you'll take the time just to run it by Tim before you do it. Most of the time when we're dealing in our self-directed retirement plans, we start doing the same type of thing over and over and over again. The only time I would need to call you is if something's like out of the ordinary. This doesn't look or smell like the other deals I've been doing. Maybe I better call Tim, or there's other partners involved, or you know what, I don't know. But if it's not exactly cookie cutter, then maybe you need to just call and run it by. So I don't want you to get freaked out about penalties and prohibitive transactions in an IRA, because a lot of you that'll be the best choice for you, will be the IRA. Other people, the choice will be for the 401k. Just know that if you can work your way over to the 401k, it's a lot more forgiving. That's a plus side for that.
And by the way, we have another course, another module here that talks about the ways to fix the prohibited transactions, whether it's an IRA or a 401k. But 401k is a much more safe vehicle, a more forgiving vehicle.
And that's something I didn't know. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like if you get in trouble with the IRS, you really need to hire an IRS attorney, because everything you say can and will be held against you and all that stuff. So you need an insulator in between. And I never knew that there were insulating attorneys like yourself to stand between you and whatever faux pas you've done and that they can be corrected, or they can be smoothed out.
They can be smoothed out.
They can be smoothed out.
Yeah.
Might cost a little bit or a little less, but in the overall big picture, should be no big deal.
Yeah. And let's go on to another point too. The flip side of loans, not only can your 401k borrow money, but it can also lend you money. And so literally you're allowed to borrow the lesser of 50% of your account balance, or $50,000. So if you want to go out and do a deal and you don't have the cash personally and you want to do it in your personal name, no big deal. If your 401k has enough money, you're allowed to borrow that money out of the 401k.
Yeah, so, and it goes beyond deals. Some people borrow the money from their 401k for educational courses to teach them how to invest the money that's inside the IRA.
A lot of people do that.
Perfectly legitimate, and really a smart move, right? Because why in the world would you want to go out into the great beyond and start trying to do something that you know nothing about? I think it makes perfect sense to borrow 2 or 3 or 4, whatever these courses cost, because they can make you lots and lots of money. A lot of these strategies are outstanding strategies, but they're not outstanding if you don't understand them fully. You have to understand them. You have to have your arms all the way around these strategies and know the ins and outs, and maybe even have a coach that's coaching you. But know that you can do that. You can also borrow the money to buy or put a down payment down on property. You can get it from your own retirement plan. So there's a lot of neat things. Any more differences that come to mind?
Other big one is with a 401k, you've got the whole universe of investments. With the IRA, you got certain limitations on what you can and can't own. And one thing we see quite a bit is people with precious metals. They want to directly own the precious metals in their name, bury it in their backyard, do whatever. 401k, you can do that. With an IRA, you can't do that.
Okay, so for the people that physically want to hold their gold, you need to go the 401k route.
You need to go the 401k route, absolutely.
Okay. And that kind of makes sense, because if you're worried about cataclysmic whatever, what good is it going to do to have a whole potload of gold someplace if you can't get to it, or it's not being shipped, or they just absconded with it? So I get that. I get that.
How are you going to get to Delaware or Singapore to get your money if the world's gone, south?
It's gone south, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to start segment 3 here in a minute. It's going to be about eligibility requirements for the different plans. So stay tuned.